Good morning. Welcome to this weekly greeting. Little did I know when I started doing these almost a year ago that I'd still be doing them now. A weekly greeting from Crofton Church and St Peter's Church in Warnfield, both in Wakefield, both in the Diocese of Leeds, both in England, both in Great Britain, both in the world. I hope you're well. Spring, don't tell anyone, but I think spring has sprung. Finally. We actually had the windows open yesterday. Woohoo! Which for February isn't not too bad. It's March tomorrow. Yeah. So that dark period is over, and then we've got to look forward to losing an hour's sleep at some point. Woohoo! Yes. But all good. I had my jab this week, so yes, I've moved that forward as well. Well done to anybody else who's had the jab. We weren't giving a lolly for being brave or a sticker or anything, which was a bit disappointing, frankly. But no, I've had my first jab, and bit tired, a bit achy, but nothing too bad. This week's gospel reading is from Mark, and it's a bit of a difficult one in that nothing happens. It's all about what Jesus says. It's all about what Jesus says. He's telling the disciples that he's going to have to suffer, and that he's going to be rejected by people, that he's going to suffer physically, spiritually, all kinds of other ways. And Peter, bless him, Peter, who's always, no, he stands up and says, I won't allow this to happen. But actually, Jesus says, whoa, this is going to happen. You've got to allow this to happen because this is only God's plan. So he sort of he does rebuke him. I don't know how Peter would feel at that point. I guess a bit more confused than normal. He says, get behind me, Satan, which is quite a thing to say, really, to a friend. And he says, basically, anybody who wants to be my disciple needs to suffer the consequences of that. And thankfully, in this country, we don't suffer many consequences of being a Christian. Thankfully, we occasionally mocked more than anything else. Obviously, force-fed songs of praise. But really, actually, being a Christian in this country is quite easy compared to a lot of other countries where people are jailed, persecuted, and potentially put to death for being Christian. So whatever suffering we have to go through, it's all about taking up our cross as Jesus took up his cross and following him. In order to show that we are his disciples, that's what we do, essentially. So it was all about taking up the cross this week. I can imagine, again, though, that the disciples would have thought, what? Because we've got the benefit of hindsight, we've got the benefit of knowing all of those things did come to pass, and then Jesus was resurrected, and yes, this was all in God's plan. But they had none of that. They just had this guy who they were following, who they knew was perhaps the Son of God, and, they thought he was the Messiah some days, and other days, I'm sure they were completely confused as to who he was. So yeah, just poor old Peter, again, probably we would have all gone, no, we won't allow that to happen. But actually, it had to happen. So taking up your cross. The children had a few different things sent to them this week, all on the theme of crosses. If you put that on your window, that will shine through. It's like a stained glass window. Once you've coloured it, it's sort of a vellum. I think it's the word vellum. That's a good word, isn't it? Vellum. Of a cross. It's been decorated. I think I did that with felt pens. Yeah, I think I did it with fibre pens. So it looks nice when you put it in the window. And we did these in church a while back. Because I remember Pippa did me one. I think actually Pippa did one for herself, and then she made Katie, her mum, give me hers. Because she wanted to keep hers as well. One of those scratch art things where you get one of these little scratchy things and you scratch onto it. Mine's very boring. I'm sure the children have made much better efforts than I have. I'm not massively creative, it has to be said. So yeah, I'm going to hang that on my car, on the what's the word? Mirror. On the mirror in the car. And some of the older children also sent these. I sent these to the older children because they're key rings. Small children don't need key rings, but bigger children do sometimes. Sometimes they have locker keys and that kind of thing, and bike keys and that kind of thing. And these were plain. Sent out, they were wooden. And I coloured that in with quite thick felt tip pens. Again, a pretty boring design. I'm sure the children did far better than I did. Today, we open for private prayer. I'm not really sure how things are going to pan out. A bit like everything else, we're kind of waiting on a weekly basis to see what the rules allow and that kind of thing. So currently we're open for private prayer. You are very welcome to join us at 9:30 at Crofton Church and 11 o'clock at St Peter's Church in Warnfield. If you are in the Wakefield area, do come and find us. We'd love to see you. And again, just a weekly basis, I'll let you know what's happening next week. Next week when that happens, to see what any new announcements that have been made. Jokes. Now, I had a choice of 3 jokes this week, and I couldn't decide, so I'm going to do all 3. The jokes bit is extending in this. This was from Paul Laycock. My friend shared this on Facebook. Did you hear about the man who fell into the upholstery machine? It was nasty, but at least he's recovered now. But tish. I've started telling everyone about the benefits of eating dried grapes. It's all about raising awareness. Dried grapes, raisin? Okay. But I really like this one. This is my favourite one, I think. I got stopped in the street and asked why I was carrying a 3-metre book. I said, it's a long story. And on that note, I shall let you get on with your lives. Thank you for joining me this morning. Feel free to interact on the Facebook page and on the YouTube channel and all that kind of thing. Click like, is what they always say on these YouTube things. And have a lovely week. Hopefully it'll stay nice and warm. And I'll see you next Sunday. Bye-bye.